Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Today we're going to talk about shirk and the top 10 ways that Muslims commit shirk, because it's a really prevalent sin in Islam and it's the greatest sin which Allah will never forgive. This is because Allah says in Surah Nisa verse 116, Allahu la yaghfiru an yushraka bih wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha. The first way that Muslims commit shirk in a big way is when they ask other than Allah for things that only Allah can give them, such as for a child, to pass exams, to bring back a lost possession, etc. The only way we can ask other than Allah for help is if they are present, if they can hear us, and if they are capable and have the ability to help us. Other than that, we can only and we should only ask Allah for help and for anything and everything that we need. So in our salah, we say 5 times a day, over 17 times in each rak'ah, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You alone do we worship and you alone do we ask for help. That means we do not share this with anyone else from His creation, no matter how beloved He is to Allah, such as a prophet or a saint. The second way that Muslims commit shirk is to prostrate to other than Allah. So we do not prostrate, for example, in karate or to our elders or bow down to anyone or anything besides Allah, because this is the extreme form of respect and this is exclusively the right of Allah alone. I used to practice ninjutsu a while ago, and I excluded myself from the bowing part because that is part of our faith, that we only bow down to Allah. Instead of people being offended, they will actually respect you for what you believe in because you've stood up for it. The third way that people commit shirk, Muslims, is by circumambulating and basically making tawaf around graves, tombs, and shrines in order to elevate it, glorify it, praise it, and seek blessings from it. So they wipe themselves on it, they take pieces of its cloth or pieces of its brick and paint and make it into amulets and talismans and hang it around their necks, hoping that this will bring good luck to them and ward off evil. The whole concept of graves and shrines and tombs, more importantly, is sort of non-existent in Islam because it's not supposed to exist in the first place. There is a clear hadith that explains that these graves should not even exist. The fourth way that Muslims commit shirk is by unequivocally, absolutely, and blindly obeying anyone else besides the Messenger of Allah or Allah Himself, because their message is one and the same. What we find today that's really prevalent is the sort of khalifas in every neighborhood that demand you pledge bay'ah to them and that you blindly obey them in everything, and they put themselves in authority to be obeyed blindly because they have this unseen knowledge and this esoteric knowledge. Now this is false, and the only people we're allowed to blindly obey is Allah and His Messenger, because their message is the same. The only other person or people you can pledge bay'ah to is the caliph or the ruler of a country, of a Muslim country, and the Muslim ruler of the world, like the Mahdi, for example. And they differ from the Sufis because you do not blindly obey them in matters that oppose the Sharia, whatever is in the Quran and the Sunnah clearly. The fifth way that Muslims commit shirk is by swearing by other than Allah. So, for example, as a child, it was very common in madrasa where kids used to lie and they used to tell each other, well, say Qasam Quran, or say by your father's grave, or by your mother's grave, or on the Kaaba, or this and that. All of this is swearing by other than Allah. We are not allowed to swear by anything other than Allah because Allah is the greatest, and whatever you swear by makes that thing the greatest thing, because in your mind you consider that to be the most elevated thing, so you're swearing by it. However, we swear only by Allah because He is the greatest, and Allahu Akbar. So we should not glorify or elevate anything besides Allah with Allah, even if we do not believe that those things or objects are greater than Allah. The sixth way that many Muslims commit shirk is by reading and believing in horoscopes. I myself, as a teenager, used to rush to the back of the Sunday Times magazine to have a look at what was happening in my life and where it was going to go for the next week. And a lot of the things that it said were quite funny because some of them made sense, some of them were true, some of them actually happened, and some of them were absolutely far fetched. So we are told in many ahadith that the devils go to these fortune tellers with many over 70 lies for every one truth that they steal from the heavens while listening to the council of angels about whatever's going to happen in the future. So this is, of course, polytheism, because you're putting your belief in the fortune teller who's putting all of these horoscopes at the back and who's personally writing them out, the author of these horoscopes. So they're not God. They don't know the unseen. Only Allah does. And that is why we should never ever believe in what these horoscopes say. And we should never ever even read them, because imagine your prayers not being accepted for 40 days. And God forbid we should die in that state. The seventh way that Muslims commit shirk is by wearing ta'weez, which is the Arabic term for amulets and talismans. Anything you tie around your neck, your body, or attach to your kid's vest, like a clipper or a knife or some weird object. It's also sometimes a little black pillow or little black casing, which contains some verses of the Quran, which, even though it looks good, it's not supposed to be used this way, because Muhammad did not teach us to use the Quran in this way. We're supposed to read it for protection and believe in it and not wear it. The other thing is that Muslims also find in their ta'weez, because I've opened quite a lot of them that my relatives have been wearing, and even some that were hanging around my mother's house that we had no idea where they actually came from. But when I opened them, I was very shocked, because you find numerology, you find abjad, which is also using alphabets, and unintelligible words, signs, and symbols that you really can't read because they're not from any language that humans speak. They're actually the language of the jinn and names of jinn, which are the demonic spirits that these creators of these ta'weez actually invoke. So they write those names of the demonic spirits into these papers, put them on you, and you're actually being accompanied by demons and seeking protection from them instead of protection from Allah. And that is why amulets and talismans, or ta'weez, have been forbidden in Islam, because people start putting their faith and trust and hope and attachment to these little pockets and these little knives and these little pieces of string and whatever they are, instead of trusting in Allah. And this is why people lose their faith in Allah and put their faith in objects, which is polytheism. It's a form of idolatry, and we've been forbidden from this. In every culture in the world, people have their own brand of good luck charms, amulets, talismans, and stuff that they use to ward off evil and to bring good fortune and good luck. So we're used to hearing about horseshoes, about rabbit's foot, and people wear these on their bracelets. Some people use the crucifix. People use all sorts of different objects, even crystals, and the hand of Fatima is also quite popular in Turkey and elsewhere in the Arab world and North Africa. People also use things like the Ain, or the evil eye, or the Eye of Horus. All of this is seeking help and protection from the demon, and it's actually part of witchcraft. So all of these should be avoided, and no Muslim should ever have anything on his body at all, ever. Especially on babies, it's very common to find clippers and knives and small little silver objects, attached to their vests and their nappies. And of course, this is absolutely forbidden. We should read over our children the du'as and the selected words of protection that have been authentically prescribed, which can be found in a book called Hisnul Muslim, or Fortress of the Muslim. Another thing that Muslims have borrowed from Hinduism is the wearing of kohal, or black eyeliner, on children, on adults, on anyone, to ward off the evil eye, or nazar, as is commonly called by Asian Muslims. Now, black eyeliner is nothing more than makeup, and this is absolutely permissible. In fact, it's from the prophetic sunnah to wear ithmid or antimony kohl, uh, as medicine around the eyes and as a beautification. However, some people, in following the Hindu ritual, not ritual, sorry, the Hindu culture, will actually wear it to ward off evil eye. And this is, of course, a form of polytheism because it's nothing more than a bit of black paint, really, in a pencil that you can actually paint onto your face. So this is not going to serve you any protection whatsoever. It is a false belief and is something that is borrowed from Hinduism. The other thing that many Muslims practice, which is a ritual of protection or removal of harm and prevention of evil for someone, is turning of salt. Usually, after weddings, as a child, the adults would come to the children and, with a handful of salt, wave it frantically around their heads. And they would Islamicize this practice by reading the three last chapters of the Quran, which are Surah Ikhlas and Falak and Nas, the three quls, which are the last three verses of the Quran for protection, for personal protection. And they would Islamicize the ritual by reading those three surahs and wave the salt around frantically. Some of them would add spice to their lives and throw some chilies in. Some of them, I've been told, actually add in eggs to this ritual. So, other than ending up with a really nice omelette, I don't know what what purpose this serves. Of course, we as Muslims know that Allah is the only one who has all the power and the only power that can protect you from evil eye, nazar, misfortunes, bad luck, any sort of harm that can come your way. Only Allah can protect it, and you can only seek it from Him. The eighth form of shirk prevalent in the Muslim Ummah today is slaughtering for other than Allah. So you might go to a peer or a saint or a Maulana or someone who claims to be righteous, but then they ask you to bring a black fowl or a black cow or a black sheep or a black goat and slaughter it in the name of a jinn. Of course, they might do this for you. You won't actually know what they're doing with it. This is something commonly practiced in witchcraft and is ritual sacrifice to demonic spirits in order to get their bidding or have them do some service for you. This slaughtering is for other than Allah, and this makes it completely forbidden, and it's a sacrificial slaughter for another deity or a demon. And of course, where I was brought up, we would often hear Hindus say, "Oh, we're going to do black fowl prayers," or "Don't make me do black fowl prayers on you." And that means that they would actually slaughter a black fowl, to invoke a jinn to come and afflict you with ill harm. The ninth way that Muslims commit shirk is by believing in signs or omens, or of course all of these are superstitions. Many Muslims say that you should not clip your nails or cut your hair at night, or the common misconceptions and superstitions that most people have, like Friday the 13th, or black cats and ladders and broken mirrors, and so on and so on and so forth. So all of these are omens and superstitions, and they should never, ever have an effect on your life, either by permitting you to do something or by preventing you from doing something. You should never stop something that you plan to do because of a so-called evil omen, because there are no such things. They have no power over anything. It's just a little kitty cat, or, it's really, really powerless. Allah is the only one that can decree and permit or stop anything from happening via divine decree. So we should have faith in Him and not faith in any of these so-called myths and legends. The 10th and by no means final way that Muslims unfortunately commit shirk is by calling upon the jinn. Now, the jinn are a spirit entity that Allah has created. They are not visible to us unless they make themselves visible to us, and they can also shapeshift and have amazing strength and travel at amazing speeds, and they're superhuman basically. And Muslims may call upon them, and in fact people in general may call upon them as a shortcut to getting whatever they want. people think that if God does not answer their prayers, they don't want to wait because they don't have patience. So they wish to call upon the jinn, and by this they have to make a pact with the jinn, and they have to make sacrilege, acts of sacrilege by really, really disgusting things, such as urinating on the Quran, writing in blood of menses, and so on and so forth. Um, Now, the people that normally do this are those in disguise. They will not come straight up in front of society and say, "We are devil worshippers and we can help you get your needs fulfilled, or we are the agency of the jinn, and so we're agents of the jinn, and if you want to contact the jinn then you come through us." They're not going to say this because obviously this will expose them as being absolutely perverse individuals. However, they will disguise themselves as being extremely pious and extremely religious and extremely righteous, and they will even wear signs of the Sunnah upon themselves. However, the reality is far, far, far from the truth, and the reality is far different from what they're actually about, what they look like. So, what you will find is that these amils, if you go to them, firstly, you go maybe looking for a lost object, maybe wanting something you can't have, maybe you wish to have a need fulfilled, and you go to them. Firstly, this is shirk in it of itself, because you're not supposed to be going to any person for these things. You're supposed to be turning to Allah and praying to Him and asking Him alone. However, many people go there because sometimes they get desperate and they don't know how to have faith in Allah and how that suffices you. So they go to these people. And these people often, if you're looking for something or if you believe that some magic was done on you, they will ask you for an item of clothing or your mother's name or your father's name or some other personal remnant or personal detail. Immediately, if they ask you for this, then know that they are communicating with the jinn, and this is shirk, because you're not allowed to have any communication with the jinn whatsoever. Even if they claim to be good jinn and Muslim jinn, jinn are demonic spirits. They're usually malevolent and they are liars. So you can't believe anything they say. And we as Muslims should stay far away from any contact with them whatsoever. The main thing is that these amils will call upon them to get your needs fulfilled. You may pay them, you may do whatever it takes to get your wish fulfilled, but this is shirk, as I mentioned. And these amils, of course, communicate with the devil. They may extort large amounts of money from you, or they may say they're doing you a favor for free. But believe me, nothing is for free. They are winning souls to the devil so that they can get their wishes fulfilled, and you're just part of the bargain. You're just part of the collateral damage. So please do not be fooled by this. A lot of these people claim to tell the future or claim to have knowledge of the unseen. What they're actually doing is they contact the jinn, they summon them, they then contact them to do some bidding on their behalf. Either go and find some lost information, or spy and eavesdrop on people and bring them some news, or they ask others to bring back a lost item, or whatever it is that you want, or even steal money. Please be warned, take heed, and stay far away from any person who displays any of these characteristics. No matter how pious they look, this is a disguise. If they are contacting the jinn, which they most probably are if they have some of the signs that I've mentioned, then they are disbelievers and they are devil worshippers. Because once you contact the devil, he will never come until you do an act that pleases him. And the only acts that please him are acts of sacrilege against the Quran or against something that is sacred in Islam. So please be warned about this, and do not be manipulated by any individual who asks you for money or for any other thing which could lead you to commit shirk.